How often do you ask me, what do you want to eat? And I say, I don't care.
I mean, you've gotten better. But you used to do that all the frickin' time.
Fair.
And that, my friend, is one of the signs that maybe you're not living as authentically as you could.
That's just one of the signs, but we have others for you. And some of these things we either do and are working on or have done in the past ourselves.
Okay, for the record, you're allowed to say, I don't know or I don't care what you want for dinner, but like actually mean it.
If you're new here, I'm Brittany. This is Nick. And we got tired of pretending like we had it all together because we didn't, like most people. And so we stopped. And now we're all about keeping it real and showing you how to do the same.
Come along.
Let's just jump right into it. So the first one is what we like to call the social chameleon. And what this really is just like you're one person in this scenario and another person in a different scenario, and much like a chameleon, you change depending on your setting. So let me give you an example. Like for me, when I'm in a professional setting, I notice sometimes I am overly formal, and that is not me at all. And that's not to say you can't be like professional, but you don't have to be overly formal. So a common thing that happens kind of in the professional realm is like your boss might suggest some kind of idea and you think, oh, this is a crappy idea. But do you say that? No. You say, oh, yeah, great idea. And you go along with it. And you don't have to say like, what a shit idea you have. But you could say something like, maybe if we did it this way instead. Something like that makes you a little bit more authentic. But that's just one example of it.
Another big one I notice myself doing is like pretending I'm having fun when I'm just not. Let's go to this place that's, you know, a chain restaurant and hanging out like, oh God, this food is so good. No, it's awful. It's a microwave steak. Get out of here.
Oh yeah, I feel you.
We finally put the kibosh on that one. But
Bob Evans.
Bob Evans. Yes. Like for years.
We endured Bob Evans.
Brittany's grandma loved taking us to Bob Evans because she thought that was like what we loved to do when we went back to our hometown. It turns out all three of us were just miserable, eating awful food. And then I don't even know how the topic came up, but we were all like, oh, you know what? Say no more.
Authenticity. Embrace it. You no longer have to suffer at Bob Evans.
So all this to say, it doesn't mean you're being fake. It just means you're being like polite or Midwest nice, as we like to call it. And that's fine. But just, you know, as we tell our kids, use your voice. Nobody can know that you're like either upset or not enjoying it or whatever unless you speak up. And then once you do, it's like kind of a weight lifted off of your shoulders. The other red flag, the second one that we call, is you just aren't following your passions or your desires because you're embarrassed or some other reason. We really ran into this when we started our other YouTube channel. Like we were like, who the hell are we? Like we're gonna tell people how to travel, and we picked up a crappy GoPro and started just recording, like, who's gonna watch this? And then all of a sudden people, you know, some people, dozens of people started watching it.
Dozens. Yeah, I mean, like, at first, like, we felt so fake, and sometimes this comes across, like, imposter syndrome, but, like, because we're, like, we're not filmographers, what are we out here doing this for, like, but, like, that's fine. You don't have to be, like, professional at it to, like, pursue an interest or a hobby or passion or whatever.
Yeah, ours just started off because we wanted to like make cool home movies and we needed a place to share them, so we thought, let's just try our hand at a vlog, and it was just...
We also, when we initially started that YouTube channel, we focused a little bit on how we thought others would react versus what we actually wanted to do. And that held us back for a little while because we were just thinking, like, what are people going to think? Like, we are these YouTubers, you know? It has, like...
Influencers in the wild.
Right? But, you know, we just went for it eventually because we're like, who cares? Like, we want to do this. And we did, and it's a great... It feels amazing.
And if we hadn't continued down that path, I mean, the most rewarding thing for us was, you know, we ran into somebody that we had never met before in our lives in Houston, of all places, at baggage claim, and they're like, you inspired me to travel with my children. Like, that's a big thing. And
all you need is one person.
Right?
So if anybody wants to comment down below to keep us motivated and going... Just kidding. Well, we're going to make these either way, but... So if you are feeling this way, there's a couple things you can do.
Coughing is not one of them.
Coughing is not one of them.
Brittany has a cold too.
I do. One is practice. Just start and just over and over. The repetition will make you feel more comfortable with it, which will then reduce feelings of embarrassment or any of that you might be feeling. Another is to start small. You don't have to like launch a YouTube channel. Like we just started filming personal videos first, and then we kind of branched into it. But just start small. Anywhere you start is fine. And then the third thing is any kind of like exposure that you can do. So when I had anxiety, like this is what helped me the most, was just diving in and just trying it out. And like the more you expose yourself to different things, the easier it gets. It feels like very icky at first, but I promise it will pay off. So if you have a hobby that you are wanting to start but you're too afraid, just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
We'll send Nike a check later. Okay, the third red flag is your actions don't necessarily match your feelings. Now you'll start to see these are all kind of interrelated, where it's like you do something outwardly, but inwardly it's just not the best for you, right? So going back to, what do you want for dinner? I don't know. Hey, do you want to come and be a room rep for elementary school and do the classes? No, I don't.
I told you I would do it. I told you I would do it.
Look.
Live your truth. Live your truth.
I know that it means a lot to our children. I think what makes this one important is you just have a constant disconnect between like what you want and what you feel, and that is just freaking exhausting. You have to get yourself mentally ready to do something that you've either agreed to or that you think is expected of you, and that mental load is just a lot. We joke around a lot about activation energy. Like, I find that if there's something that needs to be done but I don't want to do it, the activation energy is huge. Whereas something that I want to do and I'm excited about, I can get up and do in a heartbeat. So really what I do is I just kind of think like, will I want to do this in a couple of weeks? Like, am I excited about it? And the answer is yes. If it's no, I don't want to do it, do I have to do it? Is it required? Like, is it for health, for safety, or, to making somebody else feel really valued and that makes it worth it? Okay, fine. That's how I ended up a room rep. Or is it something where I'm going to agree to it because it's too uncomfortable to say no? And if I find myself saying that, and that takes some real introspection to be able to understand that, you just say no and practice it.
All right, I'll take this next one because I have a very personal connection to this one. This one is when you can't name your feelings. It's knowing how you're feeling, just recognizing how you're feeling. So for me, so I've had a past with anxiety and struggles here and there with it. And for a long time, I felt like kind of ashamed of it, like a lot of people do with any struggle that they have. It wasn't until I got more vulnerable with how I was feeling and expressing how I was feeling that things really changed. So I stopped hiding the fact that I had anxiety, because it happens. People have anxiety. There's nothing wrong with that. And when you kind of embrace the fact that you're feeling this way, and it's okay to feel this way, and it's okay if other people know you feel this way, you're living a more authentic lifestyle. But this isn't just anxiety. This can be any kind of emotion or feeling that you're having. For example, for parents, a lot of times you might have a lot on your plate and you're feeling very overwhelmed.
We have not seen each other much since the birth.
They're busy parents. Apparently it is usual.
And then one of those kiddos comes up to you, and that's like the last straw when they ask you something. It's being able to recognize in the moment, okay, I need a minute. I need to get myself back to like a stable place here. So we'll say to them, okay, mom and dad are feeling a little overwhelmed right now. We need a second. We'll be with you in a minute. And then we go in the bedroom and have a minute or whatever. It's actually very beneficial for the kids too, because they understand that mom and dad are struggling sometimes, but it's okay.
You model the behavior.
Yeah.
Right? And like even our very young children, when they start to lose their temper, I notice they'll like retreat to their bedrooms and they'll just say, I need some space. And it's the cutest thing, where they just like march themselves to their room. Okay, this one is the last red flag. It's number 5. And it's probably the most ironic, I think, in my opinion, because it's all about self-awareness or lack thereof. If you recognize yourself not having self-awareness, which, how are you going to do that if you don't have self-awareness? Okay, I joke a little bit about that because, you can still be self-aware even if you don't notice yourself. What we've really started doing is, like, when we feel uncomfortable, taking a minute to kind of say, like, why did I react that way? Why did I, raise my voice at the kiddos, or why am I acting short, or why do I feel sad? I think asking yourself those questions is a very healthy thing to do. And sometimes it's difficult, but like, it'll help you understand why it is that you are the way you are. So after a while, you start to recognize some patterns or triggers for your feelings and your reactions to things. For example, I found myself getting really like tired and kind of just over it really quickly. And after I did that, I started realizing, like, well, I just have no energy, and I'm starting to feel like not as healthy as I could, or it would be like after a weekend of like just eating and drinking like crap. And so we started working out, started kind of getting into like a more healthy routine, and that really started to help us, get into a much better mental place. You're popping the hood and you're trying to figure it out. I don't know. I'm not a car person, but I presume that's what one does. One way that can help you with this is maybe like journaling, for example. And it doesn't have to be anything big. Just take some time to like reflect on your day, how you were feeling, what you did, what you ate, any fun events or any annoying events, anything that would have bothered you, and then go back and review it and read it. And it can stay private, it can stay yours, like it's your space. So it feels really weird at first. All of this feels really weird at first.
And I feel like people like hear the word journal and they're like, oh, this is like that meditation crap and all that, and like people just instantly don't want to do it just because of like the connotation it has. But like, it doesn't have to be a formal process. There are apps if you don't want to like get a paper and pen and like have a journal. Like there are different ways to go about it to like get your thoughts on paper. Like we have a blog, we did our YouTube channel, and these are just helpful ways to like, like just find what works for you. So we went through the signs. You may recognize some of these in yourself, but from there, why do we care? Why does this matter? If you recognize these signs and you know that you're experiencing them and you make some changes, there can be some positive benefits from it. So you can have better relationships. It can lead to an increase in confidence, less anxiety. You can have more energy. So many great benefits to just kind of embracing your true self versus like doing all these things because other people, expect it of you, or this is what you're supposed to do. This is what parents do. We need to be perfect all the time. Not only that, but you're teaching your kids while you're going through this as well.
Well, there's a reason the FAA says put your mask on before you put your kid's mask on. You got to take care of yourself before you can take care of somebody else.
Always.
And this is not some overnight thing like suddenly, oh, I don't care, I'm going to do my thing. These are all learned behaviors that you need to practice, and they're hard. Setting boundaries is a really important piece of this. Work time, like it's time to go and you're interrupting on family time, being very militant about that, or being disrupted when you're in the middle of something can cause a lot of stress. So just make sure that you practice your boundaries. And then lastly, just regularly checking in with yourself. That's where the journaling comes into play, or just even conversations, or checking in on your spouse or partner, like, hey, I noticed you've been quiet, or
I just asked Nick that earlier today.
Right?
It's like, you are grumpy today.
Not that grumpy.
But he wasn't grumpy. He just was busy doing stuff. It means no worries for the rest of your days. You were supposed to come in with the next line.
It's a problem-free philosophy. We're going to Lion King. Look,
our first video was Taylor Swift. Now we're in Lion King.
Why did we not do this earlier?
I don't know.
Living authentically is not a passing craze.
All of the references. It's going to be a surprise what comes in the next one. Living authentic, I think, kind of gets this feeling of it being like a trend. Like, it's just trendy for people to say, like, you should be more authentic. But it's really so much more than that. It's about, doing all these things that we discussed, and it can really just make your life more fulfilling overall.
Your homework after this video is to tell somebody no. Just say no. No, thank you. I don't want to do that. That does not sound fun to me. You can be nice about it. Say no. See how it feels.
Yeah.
Okay, so you clicked into this video. Obviously, there's some interest and you're still here, which, look, I'm going to call that a win. Even if, there's just one person watching, that's worth it. And that's you. You're that one person. So make sure you do the whole like and subscribe thing. We're going to have a lot more content about living authentically and largely not giving a shit about kind of how others perceive us. So it promises to be a very fun time. And remember, this is hard. You can do it. If you don't get that reference, go watch our last video.